Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Not For Broadcast. It has been a minute, Avery, since we've been able to record a podcast. We were supposed to record one in Sweden when we were there for Dream League and Blast, but I ended up getting sick. And then Dream League started, didn't really have as much time to be able to do so. And then we came back, and then we had some stuff going on, and then we had the TI qualifiers. So might as well wait until the TI qualifiers are done. They are indeed done. We finished it yesterday. You and I covered Western Europe. Well, you, me, and Owen covered Western Europe, considering I had a power outage. Bad timing on that one, I guess.
Yeah, really nice job, Austin. Really pulling up the premier casting level and just elevating the scene as usual with your expertise and veteranship. So kudos to that. Round of applause
Let
for
me
Austin
just
Walsh,
say,
everybody. Round of applause for Austin Walsh.
In like the 15 years of casting, I've never had a more cursed run of covering a tournament before. That was something else, between mic issues, which is more like vmix issues, and a power outage just killing my internet. It was something. All right.
Should have had a backup generator, but we all live and learn.
All right, Avery is all antsy to get this episode going, so we're going to get straight to it. Avery, long time ago, we did a tier list. It was 4 months ago. We did a tier list, kind of setting the stage for what we thought the current situation was in Dota 2 esports, and what we thought the best chances for teams going to TI and winning TI, specifically winning TI. And I figured now was a good time to be able to catch up on that, and we're going to do it juxtaposed by the fact that we have our results for who is actually going to go to TI. So we covered Western Europe. We'll go through the results real quickly. We covered Western Europe. We had the outcome of NAVI Junior managed to beat OG, and then everybody is so excited about this. Reddit is just a buzz with constant threads about it. It's pretty much the same as the Counter-Strike subreddit right now, because Simple is in the playoffs for the Counter-Strike major. If you don't know who that is, it's like the biggest star. Nigma Galaxy, also known for their stars, Kuro, GH, Sumail, they're going to go to TI. Everybody's excited about it. They managed to beat OG as well. OG, unfortunately, will not make it. They crumbled a bit. Didn't they, Avery?
Well, that's one way to put it. I mean, they picked Void Spear like 5 times in a row. That's another way to put it.
You're already throwing NOTAIL under the bus, huh?
No, I actually don't think they crumbled. Like, I just don't think. I think they did better than I would have expected for a team that formed a month ago. Like, I really don't know what people expected. I would have been surprised if they had qualified, honestly. I did not have them in that top 2. So I think they overperformed relative to my expectations. I think they looked like a better team than people expected. So therefore, when they kind of faltered, it's like they were coming down from a level that should have been higher. But I think that's putting too much on them. This was kind of a Hail Mary attempt to get to TI with the last minute roster with up and coming players that have never been to TI, have never even been to Big Land, some of them. So like, what do you want them to do? You know, they were 1 game away twice. It's as close as you can get. Yeah, maybe they choked a little, but okay. I mean, how many reps does this team have compared to Nigma Galaxy? It's probably like less than 1%. Like literally, I think
this team has been working on it for 6 years to make it back to TI. So yeah, OG, especially this roster, definitely not the exact same experience. I felt quite bad for Days, though, because Days used to be on Navi Junior and played up against Navi Junior, played up against his former squad, literally the exact same, except for Zayats is replacing him. And he has to watch his old team go to TI. And then he has to watch Nigma Galaxy also go to TI. I did think that there was definitely.
Let me remind you, Austin. There's another player who had to watch some of his old teammates go to TI, and it worked out quite well for him in the grand scheme of things. So that's not always a bad road to be on. Of course, I'm talking about Cinderin, who has watched many of his former teammates participate in many TIs at this point, and some of them have even won it. And Cinderin is doing great. So shout out to Cinderin.
Okay, if we asked Cinderin if he would trade all that for a TI win, do you think he would take that?
No, he wouldn't, because friendship counts for more than championship,
I,
Austin.
well,
You
okay.
can't sail a championship into your 80s, but you can, if your friends are alive, sail your friendship into the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
That goes.
Okay.
That's a better ship, right?
Oh, I thought you were going to say
That's just
sail
naval
a
warfare.
broadcasting career into your 80s, because this is a job that you can kind of keep doing
Nope.
forever, as seen from traditional supports.
We probably got like 2 more years max. So
Okay, well,
hopefully it sustains that. But
I wanted to talk about the fact that I do think expectations were probably too high for OG, and part of that was because they made it to the upper bracket final, but there was a bit of bracket luck involved because they faced up against Team Secret, who immediately bombed out against Yellow Submarine, who clearly was a very tough opponent, so maybe bombed out is a little bit too harsh. But then they matched up against 4 Pirates, who also lost to Nigma Galaxy, where they got bounced down to the lower bracket. So they obviously faced a little bit of weaker opponents. It did not have to face up against 1W, Yellow Submarine, and while they did have to play up against Nigma Galaxy, they obviously failed to be able to deliver the win in the end. So there was probably too high of expectations, and a little bit of bracket luck to get them in that position in the first place.
is there a point? Is there a point there? What's your point, man?
Going on to Southeast Asia, Team Nemesis.
Woo!
And boom, will be the 2 teams going in. Filipino squads are making it to TI again, and they do so knocking out 23 Savage, who notoriously had something to say about Filipinos on the Southeast Asian squads. So the Philippines gets their revenge, and Talon, I mean, this one you could definitely say they choked, man, because this is a team that was actually kind of getting into the swing of things. You know, they actually had a decent performance at Dream League, right? 3rd place for a Southeast Asian team in 2025 is a great performance.
That's Dota, though. You know, the second you start to get up on top, you lose the regionals, and you reset yourself back, and you can't go anywhere. I mean, that's just classic Southeast Asian Dota right now. And then we also had Execration qualify for EWC, which is another C team. So Talon got the invite, did they?
No? Yes, I believe they're going.
They did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember everybody talking like, oh, 22 Savage back there, right? Because they did well enough in Dream League to get the invite. So you will have 2 C teams there, which is kind of cool. But that's another team that, you know, they're going to that. They're not going to TI. And then you have 2 more teams, Boom and Nemesis, going to TI, whereas Execration and Talon are not. I guess the upside for C is we're going to see like 4 other teams compete at a top tier land the second half of this year. Maybe one of them will have a good run, right, and do a little inspiration, especially the full Pinoy squad. That's pretty cool. And I go back to that 23 Savage quote. You know, he said about Filipinos playing in teams with non-Filipinos, but if you have an entire Filipino squad,
sure,
no problem, right there. You know, they're going to trash your ass. So easy dub.
I mean, Boom is not a
right
full Filipino squad, just to be clear, but you know, it's 3 out of 5.
Isn't is it Nemesis?
Yes, Nemesis is full Filipino.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. You know, you gotta. What is the makeup of Boom? Actually, now that I think about it, they're all over the place, right? Laos, Thailand, yeah, they're mostly Filipino, but Nemesis, you got the full 5. That's pretty hype. And shout out to Mac. I saw his tweet. 6 years trying to get to TI. He finally gets there. He's in the same boat as GH and Kuroki, I guess, which is you know, those guys won before they had the 6-year drought, so it probably makes it a little easier. But
sure,
that's a long time, man. Honestly, when I was thinking about it, that's tough. Like in both senses, to go that long just trying to make one tournament, and you finally make it. Like 6 years. You go back 6 years. TI was worth $40 million, and now it's worth like 3, right? Like 6 years changes a lot, and it changes what it's worth quite literally in that sense. I am surprised in a way that Kuro and GH are still here when I actually reflected on it. Not in the sense of their character or their perseverance or them as people, but just, I feel like in any competitive sport, 6 years is a long time to not even be in the arena, so to say. And so to persevere through all that and still be here and kind of regain that slot. And then you're kind of back to ground zero. It's not like they won another TI. Like they're gonna have to go and prove themselves again. You're just starting where you were starting effectively 8 or 9 years ago. That's insane to me. Like that's actually insane. So mad props to them for sticking it out, seeing it through, different iterations of the squad, miracle in, miracle out. It's a lot to go through. I feel like I've never seen Kuroki as emotional as he was in that interview because he's a very stoic figure. He rarely shows any, but he was clearly like lost for words. And I was trying to ask him,
he was nearly speechless, basically.
Yes. Yeah. And I think him watching that game 3, like he spoke a little bit about how stressful it is. It is way more stressful to watch than to play. That's why I hated coaching because coaching is the most stressful job in Dota. It's not even close. Doesn't mean it's the hardest, but it's the most stressful because sitting there watching the game is 1,000 times more stressful than playing it. And he noted that too. And so I cannot imagine what he was thinking sitting there watching a game 3, like 6 years on the line, one game against OG, the team that was the last team you played against at TI. It's like, what the fuck? That's some storyline ass shit. So somebody had to come out on top there. And that's another reason, like, you can say OG choked or whatever, but okay, let's say OG wins. We'd be sitting here, oh, Nigma choked another, now it's 7 years. Like, come on. Everybody has their time, and those guys put in so much work to get that slot. It would almost be unfair, I think, if OG came in after a month of formation and took it from him, right? Now, that upper bracket final, they choked the shit out of that. That's on OG. That's a completely different story. Maybe it should have been Navi Jr. versus Nigma Galaxy, but Navi Jr., who is now Navi, non-junior, they got the promotion, is a hell of a squad. They're actually, I think, my favorite up-and-coming team in terms of the potential. Like, I think they have the highest potential of any up-and-coming team, and it's not close. I think some of the C teams are in that category, but like C Dota is just, I feel like you have 6 months to make the roster work, and if it doesn't, it's going to be a different roster. Whereas I think that Navi squad is, I think those guys are going to be together for at least another year or two, right? Like, they don't have a reason.
That's what Zayat's whole interview was. He said he wanted to be a part of this team because they had potential, and was something different about Secret. And this was the fact that he actually sees a future in this team. Whereas Secret, it was like very likely they were gonna, do some sort of roster change. They got second and did a roster change.
I also loved his answer on, like, he asked to be on the junior squad. I think that is not a decision a lot of people would make. You can look back in hindsight and go, well, it was the better team and blah, blah, blah. But like, still, it probably means a reduce in salary, a reduction in overall appeal, right? Like, you might say, well, I can hold the main roster and maybe bring people up to it or bring people on. Like, he was like, nope, put me on that squad. I want to be with those guys. I want to be with underdogs, with some young dudes to learn and kind of take a leadership role. And it paid off for him. And I think that's the cool thing about Dota is when you make the right decisions, a lot of times it will pay off eventually. Maybe not always in the way you think, but if you put in the work and you improve, like, you will eventually get rewarded. There's no barrier that, if you're a good enough player, if you're a rank 1 player, you're leading a team, or you have good ideas, they will eventually prevail most of the time. Obviously, there's crazy acts of God that can come in, but like, barring that kind of shit, most of the time I feel like people prevail in the end. It just takes time, and sometimes people are impatient and not willing to see the time. Sometimes the organization is impatient. So I think that Navi junior squad, which is now Navi non-junior, I think they are in quite a good position, maybe one of the better positions in the scene, honestly, because I'm sure the contracts are very cheap. I'm sure, relative to like what you have to pay for Satanic or something, right? If you're trying to get him as Paravision. So I'm sure the org is quite happy with that squad. I'm sure the squad's quite happy with each other. They're all coming up together. They all have the same kind of age and position in the scene, which is super nice when you have a team like that. That's just a very good position. I feel like that's the position I would want to be in if I were to like go play now. Like, obviously I'm not in that same bracket or whatever, but if I were to go back in time and be a 20-year-old Dota player, that's the kind of team I would want to be on. Like, I would not want to join like Liquid or Gaimin, even if I got offered it, because I think you're going to learn more playing with these guys if you can challenge each other than just going in and trying to siphon information off some of these old dogs who may or may not give a fuck about you because they already got their bag. So yeah, that was pretty cool to see.
Well, the old Navi roster, moving on to Eastern Europe, the old Navi roster failed to deliver. Nobody wanted to play in Eastern European qualifier because Aurora was so damn scary, and they proved it. They took over the TI qualifiers. They 2-1 to Navi in the upper bracket final, and then 3-0 Cyber Goose, which is Solo's team. We will see that squad at EWC, but for this, it'll be Aurora going to TI. South America, we had Heroic. No big surprise there whatsoever. I think Heroic, similar to Aurora, was clearly the favorite for the South American region. There was an upset in the upper bracket final, but I mean, Avery, you could speak to this, right? When it's like usually like a 2-team matchup from the jump in these qualifiers, where you're expecting to see these 2 teams in the upper bracket final, and probably going to be seeing them in the grand final. The upper bracket final results really doesn't matter too much one way or the other, right?
More of a testing ground. I think the better team will ultimately still win the grand final 80% plus of the time, but it can be a big motivational factor. If you can take games, or you go close in that series and then you come back as the underdog, you can do some work. I mean, we saw maybe the most surprising result of this entire qualifier: no Shopify Rebellion.
Yep.
They just got smacked, dude. Like, and that's where they got 2-0 in that upper bracket final. That's one of those instances where you're concerned if you're Shopify Rebellion. Like, you do not want to get 2-0 in an upper bracket final against a very underdog team, because now this underdog team knows they can beat you. And they go in this grand final, they have way more confidence. They have strats that work for them. They won a crap ton of games with Undying, which was a super strong hero across the board. And they were able to close it out in a very close series going to game 5. So props to them. Honestly, we actually have a real NA team. That's 4 NA players on that squad. It's pretty
Yeah.
cool. I'm hyped for them.
The momentum they got off of that upper bracket final might have been really important, because going into that grand final, I felt like they were clearly beating Shopify Rebellion. But then they go into game 4 and they choked that one. They had a 2-1 lead, and thankfully they had that 2-1 lead because they choked game 4. They had a massive lead and ended up going to 76 minutes and losing out in the end. But they still come back in game 5 and crush Shopify Rebellion. It really showed. I think that Wildcard was like clearly the better team, at least for that qualifier, and definitely more deserving to go to TI. So they are going to be the ones replacing Shopify Rebellion. We'll still see Shopify at EWC, but I have to imagine when you go to EWC, but then you lose the TI qualifier, I just can't imagine a team really being able to bounce back from that and have a strong performance at EWC. It's just not the same.
Yeah, I don't see. I mean, I think that whole NA Shopify experiment's kind of dead, to be honest. Like, you're not going to attract much better players. Like, you already have a still fairly loaded roster, and you can't even make it to TI in the easiest region on planet Earth. Like, let's be real.
Yeah.
I mean, kudos to Wildcard to making it, but like, if you can't make it out of this region with Yopaj on your team, like, I don't know, dude. What the fuck is going on in this organization? So this maybe Boba perseveres on. I mean, the guy he just doesn't quit. So maybe we'll see him for another year, but I could easily see that thing kind of just dissolving in the next 6 months. And maybe Shopify wants to stay in Dota. I don't think the org has been too dissatisfied with the experience overall, even if the results have been pretty bad. But I could also see them trying to change it up pretty drastically and region hop or slap their name on another team or something. I don't know what they want to do. Try and bring some new captain in to build a new squad or something. Who knows? But whatever they're doing right now is obviously not working, and they're gonna force some sort of change, because you don't just spin your wheels for like year on year and get mediocre to lower tier results and you're happy with that, especially if it's not a squad you're building up. Like, if it's a Navi Junior S squad that you're happy to invest in for a couple of years because they're all young and all on the same page and you're paying them cheap, sure, but those are still some big names on that roster, and those guys are also not going to be happy with it. So probably goodbye to that squad in the next 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I don't know anything about that organization, but if you're just competing to be the best, if you're one of those orgs that just simply wants to get trophies, well, you're probably not doing it out of NA. And if you're trying to build up a brand, you're probably also not doing it out of NA, because who out of NA, right, before they had Arteezy, right? You could say, oh, we've got like one of the biggest streamers, one of the biggest talents, one of the biggest people in Dota on our squad, and you could sell that and build around that. But it as it is, this squad that they have right now, there's no big names that you're really, shopping around in that regard. So it just kind of seems like a lose-lose scenario for Shopify, but who knows? Maybe they're just really invested in North America and they'll stick around. Um, Ending it on China. Extreme managed to 2-1 Yakult Brothers in the upper bracket and 3-0 them in the grand finals. Yakult Brothers will not be at TI. I think, Avery, you're pretty disappointed about that. Ame is going to be at TI, and that's exciting, but I think Yakult Brothers, they really won you over this year.
Yeah, I love that team, man. They're one of the most fun teams, if not the most fun team to watch in Dota. So I wanted to see them at TI. I'm sure there are a lot of Ame fans who disagree with that and will enjoy seeing that team compete. And I will as well. I mean, still a good squad, but man, so close. I wish there was another slot for China because I would have liked to have seen both these teams, honestly. Like on one side, you have my boy Jinq, on the other, you have my boy Emo. I would have liked to see both these teams at the international. So I'm a little sad that they only have that one slot. And it's brutal for a region that still has some very good players and is starting to reform into some good teams. But obviously, they had like the last 2 years were just so bad. You can't really justify giving them more slots. So logical outcome, but rough to have to pick between one of those teams. Very sad. I cried. I cried that night, Austin. Your mom was very upset.
I'm sorry to hear that. If you need to talk about it further, we can talk about it off the podcast because as it is, Extreme, they're going to be moving on, and that's going to be Ame, which I think is a great storyline. But it does pose an interesting little stat here because Knoxville tweeted out, of course, Knoxville, famous for doing all of his stats, and he has the Glicko 2 rating that he does that I always think is a pretty good. I would say it's like the best ranking system that I've seen in Dota consistently. And so when you look at it, I think it really represents who's actually succeeding in Dota. And Knoxville tweeted out that this TI will be the highest skilled TI when it comes to the representative. There is just average Glicko rating for all the teams. And I thought what was most interesting about it is that Yakult Brothers not being there was actually a big blow to the Glicko rating because they will not be at EWC or TI. And they were the highest rated team that did not qualify for TI. Sorry. So
Shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
They definitely brought down the rating a bit. Well, I guess actually technically Extreme was ahead of them in rating in that regard. But if you could have pulled from maybe some of the other regions, would have been interesting. But yeah, as it is, we also have EWC groups, which I think we will focus on next week. That'll be a good topic as we start heading into EWC fairly soon. But let's go ahead and talk about our tier list that we did, because now we know who's actually going to TI. So some of these names are going to be off the list. So Priscilla will pull up the our different rankings here. Avery, you had Spirit, Bet Boom, Tundra, Falcons, Liquid, Gaiman, Parivision, Heroic, OG, and Nigma Galaxy. At 10th, Nigma Galaxy
Damn straight,
qualified
son.
to TI.
I remember you laughed your ass off at it. It don't look so stupid now, motherfucker. I mean, I'm just,
you said top
motherfucker.
10. There's still one of 16 teams at TI, but I do think they're
that's fairly... one series. That's one lower bracket series, and they're already where I expected them to be at a minimum. So you all, this is a star themed TI for Nigma Galaxy. It's a top 8 guaranteed, Austin. Like they're coming. You watch your ass. They're motivated. They haven't been there in 6 years. The king is returning to the throne where it all began in Hamburg. Kuroki is German. It's the stars have aligned, Austin. The stars have aligned.
My list is Spirit, Falcons, Liquid, Tundra, Bet Boom, Gaiman, Parivision, Avalis. That was the risky pickup. They obviously did not qualify, nor did they come close to. Granted, it was, like this is a different roster, but yeah, they didn't make it. Heroic and Tidebound, who didn't have to go through the qualifier because they actually got invited. So both of us had 9 out of 10. We were both going to be missing one team. out of our best chance to win TI. Now, part of the ranking, again, this was best chance to win TI. So part of it is that the OGs, Nigma Galaxies, Tidebound back then, the risk was they might not make it to TI at all. But if they get there, they have a better chance to win TI than, say, some of the teams that are qualifying, let's say Team Nemesis, right? You would say Nigma Galaxy have a better chance to win TI at that point in time than Team Nemesis, even if you knew Nemesis was going to be going in the first place. So now that you have that adjustment, now that you're missing a team, what adjustments would you like to make to your rankings? What team would you like to replace OG with?
Can I select a team not going to TI? No, I'm kidding. I mean, I think
there's going to be some visa issues.
The logical selection is Aurora here.
Yes, Aurora would be the highest rated team that we do not have that on the list. Well, technically, for you, Tidebound is higher rated than Aurora.
Well, all gamers global now.
All gamers global.
AG. Yeah. It's probably all gamers or Aurora. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be one of those two.
You're not going to take the. You believe in NAVI Junior so much now. NAVI.
I mean, they're not going to win TI though. That's that's insane, right?
I mean, I think they did it. They showed up to their first TI. Did it? They were young squad.
That's different. That's different.
Led by a veteran, Zions, Silent.
I'll take all gamers. I'll put them over Aurora here.
Okay. Better chance to win TI. Of course, Aurora do also have a TI winner.
Actually,
Toronto, Tokyo, and Mira.
I'll take Aurora. I could see, because I'm not going to take a team over a CIS team. That's my final delivery. Like, I'm just not going to do that. That's stupid. There's no way. CIS Dota is going to absolutely decimate these next two events. It's not going to be close. So I will never bet on a team over them on average, all things even.
Yes. And that's where I ended up as well. It's like you look at some of the matchups. I know for the EWC groups, for example, people are talking about Group B because it's like Falcons, Game of Gladiators, or whatever. But I'm looking at Group C because it's 3 Eastern European teams. Yeah, sure. Maybe you've never heard of the organization Cyber Goose before, but the Eastern European region is just tearing it up. So anybody who can make it through that region in the first place has got to be stronger than most.
Yeah, who the hell cares about gaming gladiators? Defending whatever, they can't even defend their same roster. So like, I'm not afraid of them in my group. Falcons, That bird has soared, my friend. That bird has soared long ago. They're not doing shit right now. They're on a vacation. They haven't played in a while. Like, that's an easy group. If I'm going to that group, that's how I'm thinking about it. I don't want to play against these Eastern European teams, man. That's all I'm thinking. Just get me out of their territory. These guys are out for blood right now. It feels like their year. So that's my motto.
Okay. We are not going to fully adjust our 1 through 10. I'm not going to make us run through that, but I think we can both obviously agree we had Parivision at 7th. They're probably top 3 now for chances to win TI. I mean, they're so good and they're so adaptable. They seem to mesh into any meta.
They're top 2 for sure. You can't put them outside the top 2. They won the 2 biggest events of the year. They won them with style, and they won playing a lot of different strategies. They have arguably the best, like, rookie quote unquote player of the year, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Sure.
Probably the best carry of the year in Satanic. This team is just owning. They have to be top 2 minimum. I pushed them up and bet boom down. I mean, that's like,
yes, I was going to say, for both of us, that would replace our second place. And I believe we've probably lost faith in both of our second places. Do you still have faith in Bet Boom?
No.
Yeah, because I'm not sure if I have faith in Falcons to get their shit together.
I'm not even 100% sure what the hell is happening with Pure on this roster. Like, is he on the roster? Is he not? Is he
I
going
know,
with them?
That's
is he
really
not?
Weird part.
Who the hell knows? I legit thought this team was going to do a lot better. I think they have the skill, and man, they just absolutely crumbled. Could just be a bad meta for them too. Like, sometimes it looks like a team's crumbling, but in actuality, it's just they don't understand the meta or they're behind on it. But they've just not been playing well either. I think they still could make a run in the second half of the year. You shouldn't underestimate them because they've likely been scrimming against these other really good CIS teams, right? So they could easily get better quickly. I would not count them out. Like I would still put them on par with a Gaiman or like a little below Liquid Falcons, for example. Like they're not far off, right? I could easily see them beating any of those teams in a TI series, for example. I don't think that's that big a stretch. So I wouldn't say it was like terribly off, but yeah, they did not dominate, and Party Vision were that team. Absolutely. To me, this is a 3-man race going into these two events. It's between Spirit, Party Vision, and Tundra, and I don't think anyone else is that close right now. Obviously, Liquid. I mean, who the hell ever knows with Liquid? But I think the others that would contest are like the Falcons, the Gladiators, the AG, Aurora. I think those can contest for sure, but I'm not going to put them above those other 3 in terms of just the raw chance to win a big event.
Yeah. Maybe for after EWC, we can readjust this this 10 going into TI, but I think it was good to be able to take a look at it, and we'll take a look at it definitely after TI and see how we ended up. But yeah, EWC we'll talk about next week because we still have another week of freeze time before we end up going to Riyadh. Both you and I will be there. That hasn't been announced yet, but whatever. You can expect us to be there. Maybe. And I think, unless you have something else to talk about, that closes out this episode.
That was a short episode.
Yeah.
We've been gone like a month and a half. Do we even have viewers left?
Well, I want to leave something for next week because there's nothing that's really going to be going on, right? So
you don't want to share any of your experiences or stories over the last month and a half, Austin?
Do you have something to share?
3 Dota events, multiple qualifications, huge upsets.
I got sick in storylines. That's what happened to me. That was
nobody cares about that. Tell us something interesting.
There you go. This is why I don't share stories with you because you say nobody cares about the stories that I tell.
Because that's a terrible story. I got sick. Who wants to hear about that? Nobody wants to hear about how you got sick, man. That's just depressing and sad. People need uplifting stories. They need joy.
Okay. Well, since you're a happy person,
I don't have any.
I don't have any. I'm just saying. It's a happy story. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying.
You've got 3 events. You've got
to spend
a lot of time with your friends, and you haven't gotten a good story to tell.
I actually don't. Do I? I don't even know what happened. I don't remember any of it.
I mean, we were on the evening schedule for Dream League, so we didn't really get to do as much socializing as the morning crew is usually able to do. Blast was good. Not much to say about it. It was another solid event. TI qualifiers happened. We covered them.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's why I said I think we're done.
I don't really have any like specific stories. I will just say I really enjoy hanging out with the people we work with when we're not working.
Okay.
And I'm going to try and do that more in general. And I think every time I try and do that and I end up doing it with people, they also enjoy it a lot. And it sounds kind of stupid, but it's probably something that extends to anybody in life in general. Because you get in these compartmentalizations with people. Like it can happen with family too, right? Like you interact with family in these family settings only. You don't actually just like go do something fun with them, and it reframes how your brain perceives these people. So I actually tried to make an effort to do that this last month and a half, and I enjoyed a lot of it. And I think a lot of the Dota personalities that people get to see on camera are not like, that's not the real person 100%. It's like a slight modification, even us.
Yeah.
So
it's anywhere from like 80 to 90%.
Yeah. It is them. They're all genuine, but it's not like, there's still
sometimes it's the person, they amp themselves up a little bit for camera because you're on camera. You have to be a little bit more interesting, a little bit more higher energy. Some people, it's actually the opposite. I mean, I would say Slacks is a good example of somebody who actually comes down off camera because who the hell can maintain the energy level that he has for events?
I mean, Kevin's another one. Like, I think Purge is an absolute animal backstage, but he obviously tones it down when he goes on.
Sure.
But nobody's going to see that. I will also say I enjoy drinking with the Dota talent. I think they are quite a fun group to go out drinking with. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to give specific stories or anything, but like, I think when you get people that are like they've been trained to be outgoing and charismatic for their job, which is something I've noticed of this group, because most of the people that I worked with before Dota were not like this. They were introverted, or these math or science nerds or whatever. Like, that's how I was. But then after you do this for 4 or 5 years, you've been on camera, people tend to like not really give a fuck anymore. And those kind of people, when you get them drunk, just say the wildest shit. Like, they just go out, they just say the craziest shit, and it is entertaining. And I have enjoyed that.
Yeah, and the quality, the banter and stuff like that is a little bit higher because you're trained through it at this point in time. So you're just a little bit funnier as a result. The are you? I am. You seem to be referencing something. Was it the going out to the bar in Sweden that we did a few times, or was it the time that you spent with Owen and Cheever post? Because you're talking about like you asked me if I had any stories, but you went to hang out with Owen and Cheever post Dream League. How was that?
I'm not gonna talk about that on the podcast. That's my personal life.
You wouldn't talk about that with me. I asked, "How's it going at Owen and Cheever's?" And you didn't. You had nothing to say about it. You said it's chill.
I mean, because I'm not going to invade on. Really, I'm not going to invade and talk about their personal life if they don't want to do that. Like, I'm not a dick. But it was fun.
They live their lives on camera. I'm sure there's
so they enjoy the parts that are not on camera. I'm not some dirty TMZ leaker, bro. I'm not like in there taking photos, posting them to the net. All I'll say is they have a very nice house. They live in a very beautiful part of the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
You get to walk everywhere. You get to bike everywhere. There's woods all around. It's amazing. I can see why they enjoy their downtime and why Owen doesn't want to go to events as much. It's like his life's awesome, honestly. So if your life's awesome, it's like, I don't want to go fly and work somewhere. Obviously he enjoys doing Dota, but I can also see why they enjoy just chilling. And I enjoyed hanging out with Owen because I told you, I don't think I've ever really gotten to just chill with him as a person, like once, in knowing him for 4 or 5 years, because he tends to do his own thing or hang out with Shiva and whatever. So again, I'm trying to make an effort to like hang out with people that I don't normally do, because we hang out a lot, and like I'll hang out with certain people more than others just because you end up doing a hobby or something together. But then there's these guys, and it's like, I like them, I know them, but I never really got to spend time with them. So
yeah, the number one person for me is always Lacoste. And I feel like that's most people's number one person.
I mean, but you're not going to get him.
Hang out at all. The man is very much a recluse. Once he's off the clock, he's in his room.
It's tough. So, that's my advice to everybody watching and everybody in life in general. Make time to spend time with the people you want to, and you'll enjoy it, or you'll figure out that you hate that person. And sometimes you work with the people that you hate and you're stuck with them, and your career is tied to them. That's unlucky, but then you power through it and you will be rewarded or not. I mean, who cares? Honestly, maybe you will, maybe you won't. That's life. Some people are lucky, some are not.
You can recharge by hanging out with the people that you actually enjoy instead of the people that you're forced to work with. Yeah, I know. I understand that. Does that mean that now that you've made the trip and socialized with somebody, does that mean you'll come to LA?
Who's in LA?
Lots of people that
Post
would
Malone
enjoy
there or
hanging
something.
Out with you.
Like, is there a concert? What's going on in LA, dude? Charlie's there, I think, right? Or no, he's not there anymore.
Charlie is there. Hoppit is there.
I don't care about Charlie.
I am there.
Oh, I'd hang out with Hoppit. He's pretty chill.
Yeah. Okay.
Dude, we hang out all the time. I'm not gonna like fly to LA to hang out. That's like,
it's a different. First of all, it's a different vibe, and second of all, you wouldn't be. I'm not offering my room. You're not gonna be hanging out with me 16 hours a day. You'd be hanging out with Ken, and then we would go and do things together as a group, and it would be fun. Nat did it. She had a great time.
When did Nat do that?
What do you mean? Before Blast, she was here in LA for like a solid week and a half. What do you mean, really?
I thought that was like a Taylor Swift concert or something.
She was here for a week and a half. We hung out multiple times as a group. It was a really fun time. Cool. Played a lot of games. Played, pickleball and Blood on the Clock Tower and all those sorts of things.
Why did
and then we went to Blast, and she specifically told that story to you to try and get you to come to LA.
I thought she was there
trying
for
to
other
advertise
reasons.
that it's a really fun time and it's a really chill setup And
Look, I'm gonna be honest, Austin.
at Hotbed's place is like
I'm
you
gonna be
actually get your
honest.
own alone time.
I believe you. There's nothing wrong with it, but right now the timing's bad. I'm just gonna say, like, this is not the. No, I'm serious. This is not the time to go to LA. You know what I'm saying? Like, this time to leave LA.
Where we are at in LA is perfectly fine
for now. For now. Little political unrest.
Just make sure you have your identity with you at all times. All right. Just make sure you bring your passport. All right.
Now, if we end up in, like, I don't know, Minnesota or something, or Wyoming, I'll meet you there.
Okay.
I'll meet you halfway.
Wisconsin, perhaps.
Maybe Wisconsin. Maybe Hamburg, Germany.
Okay. Maybe I'll see you there. If you end up there, maybe I'll get you a ticket for free, so you don't have to buy
that'd be
one.
Really
okay?
Nice. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
All
right, everybody. That closes out this episode of Not for Broadcast. I know it's a little bit shorter, but we will be recording another one before Riyadh. We'll break down EWC, maybe even talk a little bit about PGL Wallachia, which is going to be happening in the next couple days. And that's it. Goodbye.